Alright, we're going to get started on this project. So our surface is this curly leaf plaque from creativeartslifestyle.com, and you could paint something on both sides if you like. So we are going to base coat this in with cranberry wine, but we're going to mix our paint with our multi-purpose sealer. This will take a couple of coats. This is an old bottle, so I think it might have some chunky chunkies in it. So we want to mix 50-50 with our multi-purpose sealer and our cranberry wine. Probably got way more than I will need for this plaque. So if that is the case, I can put it in a container and save it for another project. Okay, we're going to apply it with a 2-inch foam roller. So I'm just going to take my palette knife and wipe the paint off onto my roller here. Like I got a bunch of goober stuff in this paint, so I'll probably be scraping goobers off of it. Alright, so we're just going to roll this on. Try not to push real hard when you get out here. We're going to go ahead and paint these leaves. We're just going to base coat them with this cranberry wine. We will come back and paint them a completely different color when we're ready to paint them, but for now this will just be a base coat underneath our main color. It's got our sealer in it, so we'll be good to continue on top of that with another color. And just gentle pressure when you get to your edges, because you don't want your paint going over the edges and running down. We want to keep our edges nice. Alright, so we're going to let this dry. And we are going to apply a second coat when it gets completely dry. And then we're going to come back and do some other fun stuff to it. Alright, I've got my second coat on here. It's not dry yet, and as you can see, I didn't come all the way out to the edge this time, because we don't really need to do that. And so now I want to put some soft black on this edge of my roller here. So I'm just going to dip into my soft black. I did go ahead and paint the back of mine soft black. So now I've got both those colors on my roller here. And I just want to start applying this color to the outer edges of this. Just gently rolling it on there. Still not going to worry about the leaves, because we will take care of those later. It's not going to hurt for this color to be on them. A bit more paint. Alright. Now I'm just giving less pressure and just softly letting it blend. Bringing it in a little bit. We don't want to completely cover up all of our cranberry wine. We still want that cranberry wine color in the center. I'm going to keep this soft black mostly to the outside. Okay, so we're going to let this get dry. And then we're going to go to our next step. Alright, I've got this dry. We're going to go to our next step. Our next step is applying some drying time extender. So I just keep mine in a little container like this because it's just much easier to dip in here and and get some and brush it on. So I want to apply this over the whole center area where we just created that nice looking background. And if you do not want to do this particular step, you do not have to. I'm just going to brush my extender on. Okay, now normally I take my rake brush and spatter it, but I'm going to try something different. I'm going to use my misting bottle. I've just got water in it, so I'm just going to mist it with water. And the drops aren't going to be big enough, I don't think, so I'm going to get my rake brush. And I think what I'm going to do is spatter some soft black on here. So I want to thin it down. A little bit of an inky consistency here. And I'm just going to tap this into the background. And it's starting to like spread out from that extender. I think I'll do the same with some cranberry wine, although it probably won't show up as well. I'm going to slip back into my extender here and just re-tap a little bit of this on there. It would have been better to do it when the background paint was wet, to come and splatter it with the extender and then come back and do the spotting with the soft black and the cranberry wine. So in my written instructions I will say to do it that way. You will, before the background gets dry, you will take your extender on this brush and spatter it on there, okay? And then you can come back and spatter it with the soft black and the cranberry wine spatter. So it's got a pretty cool effect going on there. For the pattern that we're going to put on there. So I'm liking how it looks right now, but I would recommend doing it the other way. Instead of brushing the extender on, spatter it on while the background is still wet, and that will give you a much different effect. So as a matter of fact, I'm going to let this get completely dry, and then I'm going to come back and glaze it with my cranberry wine and spatter it with the extender so you can see the different effect that it will get. Alright, so after it got dry, I put a glaze of cranberry wine on here. And I did not use drying time extender. I used rubbing alcohol. This is what I used to get the spatter effects on there. It's not quite dry yet, but you can see some of the effects that it gives up in there. And then I went back and spattered it again with a little bit more soft black. So it is I don't know why I forgot that step. I've done that many times on other projects, but it's the rubbing alcohol while your paint is wet that you want to spatter on here. Okay? So when you get your second coat on, before it is dry, spatter it with rubbing alcohol and you'll get this special little iridescent type aged looking effect. It's not quite dry, so you can't see all the detail that it gives, but it just gives a really unique aged background that I really love. And then go ahead and spatter it with some of your soft black and spatter it with some of your cranberry wine to finish it off, and then just let it dry completely. Alright, before this gets completely dry, I want to add one more spattering of color in the background, and this is some gold metal powders, and I'm not going to mix very much up because I just want to spatter with it. This pale gold comes from creativeartslifestyle.com, just a metal powder. She has all different colors that you can buy, and I'm just going to mix it with my varnish. This is satin varnish here. I'm going to use this later in the project, so I might try and put this in a little container so I don't waste it here. So I'm going to take my rake brush again and get my brush, and I'm going to load some of this onto my brush. Test spatter over here. Now I'm just going to spatter some of this around on the background. Don't need tons and tons, but we just want a little bit of this to show up in the background back there. Okay. I know it looks bright right now, but when it dries, it will kind of soften down in there a little bit. So, all right, now the background is going to get completely dry. All right, I've got my pattern transferred on here, and the first thing that I want to do is take my Scotch tape and tape off these lines right here. Scotch tape will leave a nice, crisp, clean line. It is a painter's best friend. And we're going to do this line as well, but I'm just going to show you how I'm going to do this one. Now this is Media Paints Interference, and this color is gold, so it will have like an iridescent quality to it. The way that you turn it in the light will determine what it looks like. So I'm going to take a makeup sponge and apply this on, and I want a little bit narrower edge to my sponge, so I'm just going to cut it off right here and use this piece. I use my makeup sponge until there is literally nothing left. I mean, I will go all the way down to this narrow end of it and use it. So I've got a little bit wider gap here, or wider piece of foam here, so I'm just going to tap into my interference, get it on my sponge. Makeup sponges are not absorbent, so you don't want to get tons and tons on there because you don't want it to just go everywhere. We want to control what we have. So let me lift this up off of my... You can already start seeing the iridescent quality of it. It's gold. Apply a little bit more on there. I got my tape up a little too high onto my letters. Alright. Now, if you don't have this media paint interference, but you have the gold that we splattered on the background, then you can use that. Ooh, focus. So we're not getting a whole lot of iridescence stuff right now. So I'm going to tape off this other side, and then we're going to get some base coats on here. Alright, I'm getting my initial base coat on of my grapes here, which I am base coating with lavender. And I started at the bottom and I'm working up. I'm doing each grape individually. You want to have your paint a little thin with water, not super soap watery thin, but you need to have it thin so it comes off your brush nicely and doesn't leave any ridges. I'm just using a filbert brush, but you could use a round brush or a flat brush, whichever brush that you are most comfortable using. But if you paint each grape in individually, as opposed to just painting the shape of what is here, then it will help you save a step in retransferring your pattern. Now, after you put your second coat on, there might be a few lines that you are unsure of, so in that case you can lay your pattern down or just take your graphite pencil and draw that line in if you're pretty sure where it goes. There's no right or wrong to which grape goes on top and which goes on bottom. So you just want to keep it, where it's pleasing to the eye, is keeps the eye flowing and doesn't have a, make your eye stop somewhere because something doesn't quite look right. So, and we have some gaps in these grapes, and I probably won't leave those gaps in there, but I'm not going to paint them in with this color. I'm going to paint them in with a different color to give the illusion of more grapes behind these grapes instead of just a single row of grapes hanging here. This is a 6 filbert that I'm using here. It's a low Cornell brush. I sell these on my website, so this is, oops, sorry, you might have been off camera there, sorry about that. This is just our initial first coat here. Try to keep your grapes nice and round. When you transfer your pattern, try to keep those circles as round as you can get them. We're making those fat purple grapes. Alright, so now our leaves, we want to base coat those in with, I think we're going to go with light avocado. And you can use a flat brush, you can use a filbert brush. I'm going to go to a bigger flat brush, I think. A 12 or a ½ inch. I think one's a little bit, this one's a little bit wider, and just a tiny bit longer, not much longer. So I think I'll just go with the 12 flat. You have to wake your brushes up before you use them. That means letting the bristles fill completely full of water. That's how they get conditioned to work very nicely for you. And then after you've got it full of water, you take it to your paper towel and you lay it this way, you lay it this way, and you want to make sure you have no water on your ferrule. Okay, it is awake, it is ready to paint for you. So we're going to go into light avocado and base in our leaves. Now that is a separate leaf from this leaf, so I'm sure that my leaves look nothing like grape leaves, but it's okay. I wasn't going for a realistic effect on the leaves. So, I like to keep our edges nice. You need a good brush to get the points on those edges. And just fill in. Then we're going to let these first coats dry, and we're going to come back and apply our second coats. Go around your grapes. Keep those shapes nice. Take your time, don't rush it. I know that the base coating is the least fun part, but it is extremely important to get a nice base coat on here. I know this first coat looks pretty choppy, but our second coat will fill all of that in. So I'm going to finish getting this one base coated and get my second coats on everything. The stem we're going to paint in with cocoa, 2 coats of cocoa on the stem. Alright, I've got my base coats on, and I've put some lines in here so you can see where the grapes lay on top of each other. Normally I wouldn't put my lines back in, but this will make it much easier for you to kind of visualize where the grapes are. So when you're painting it, if you need these lines back on, then you just put them back on. We want to go in here and get these dark areas back in here. And I'm going to see if dioxazine purple will cover this up back in here. So any place there is a little gap, I'm just using a little round brush here. Just filling in these gaps. We could add a little soft black to that if we needed to. So any place there's a little bit of peeking out of the background. And this will give the background some, make it look like there's some grapes tucked away back in there. And then we will repeat that. And then after you've done this, if you feel like you've lost some of your round shapes, just go back in and redraw your line so you can have a good idea of where you're going. Put a little bit back in here. Okay, so that kind of gives us the illusion that there are grapes behind these grapes that we've drawn here. Okay, we're going to start doing some shading on these grapes. And we're going to start with dioxazine purple. And I'm using a 6 curved flat. I'm going to mist my palette with water. See if you can see that. Okay. Now, the longer you spray in one spot, the bigger your drops get. So this is just a travel mister that I bought at Walmart. Now, when I load, my brush is damp, and if I need water, I will come over here and pick up some water drops over here. Then I get my paint, and I load like this, and just a little V, because it gets paint on both sides of the brush. Now if you already load like this, that's perfectly fine, but to me that's seems like more work, you know, moving your brush back and forth like this when I can just right here kind of twist it in my fingers and load it. So we're just going to come in here and shade where these grapes are behind. And if you feel like a 10 curved flat is too large for you, if you're using a curved flat, then you can go to a 6. Or if you're using an angle brush, you could go to a 1/4 inch angle brush. 3/8 would probably be the best size angle brush to use. Pick up paint as you need it. You can jump around. You don't have to go grape by grape, kind of like I'm doing here. A hard line there. Right now we're just working on all of the grapes that are behind other grapes. And then we will come back and work on the other ones after we take care of doing this. This whole grape right here is going to be kind of dark because it's only light spot's going to be right up there where it's on top of that other one. This one's only going to have a little bit of a light spot at the bottom of it. You can use a mop brush when you're doing this. I usually use a mop brush every time that I float, but these are such small areas here and I'm not using a ton of paint. So for this first shading I can get by very easily without using a mop brush. We're starting to develop our more prominent grapes here. I pick up paint every couple of grapes. Well, actually, every grape I think, because I'm using such a small amount of paint. I want it to be nice, crisp on my brush. Pick up water as you feel like your brush is getting dry. If the paint is dragging, then you're going to need water on your brush. So you can pick up water on the toe of your brush or on the heel of your brush and just blend it in. paint and water there. It started really dragging bad there. Still not sure I got enough water, but pick up a little bit more, and then I'm going to blend it into my brush. I love painting grapes. I love painting all fruit. I think it's probably one of my favorite things to paint is fruit. These two down here, I'm just going to put a little bit on the bottom edge of them, just for now. Just for now. Okay, I think we've kind of defined which grapes are on top here. So let's move on to these grapes over here. Now you can lay your grapes out differently if you want. If you have specific ones that you want to have on top, then you can just do them however you'd like. Sometimes at the end I come back and add more grapes on top if I feel like my grapes need to be a little bit more, they need to have a little bit more depth to them, you know, like putting, like they need more grapes on the vine. So I never know till I get to that point if I need to come back, feel like I need to come back and add more grapes. Alright, we've just got this one little bunch left up here. If you your brush feels like you've got paint too far over on it when you're floating, then just wash it off and reload it. Sometimes you need to be up on the very tip of the brush to get into some tight little places. So there we've got just our initial shading, kind of telling us where each grape is. So I'm going to go and get my graphite lines erased so we can continue on. Alright, let's start deepening some of our shading. So we're going to go, before we start doing that though, we're going to go into our dioxazine purple, and some of these ones that are on top, let's just give them a dominant side, a side that might be a little bit more in the shadow. This is still with the dioxazine purple. Actually, this is the only one that's on top. The whole one is on top. Is that one. And over there we don't have any on top. But this one is behind the leaf here. So we definitely want to put that behind the leaf. Okay. Alright, so I've got on my palette equal a mix here of ultramarine blue and dioxazine purple. It might be a little heavier on the blue side, but this is the color that I want to do my second shading with. I think on the camera there it looks more blue than it does purple. So let me get water on my palette. Because I want that to be a little bit. This is where I will definitely use my mop brush. So we are just going to go and deepen all of our shading with this mix, equal mix of dioxazine purple and ultramarine blue. Make sure you keep your grapes rounded. A little bit too much paint on my brush there. Okay. I'll finish this little bunch of grapes up for you because it's just going back in the exact same place that we did our just dioxazine purple. I want to walk it out just a little bit more onto the grape though. Not keep it quite so controlled in that. That shadowy place. So on that edge there, I'll just take the water edge of my brush and clean that off. If you've lost any of the shapes of your grapes, now is a good time to reshape them with this shading that we're doing here. Okay, so can you see you can definitely see the difference on there between the two. So I'm going to go finish the rest of my grapes. I'm just shading in the exact same places that I shaded before, but with this mix, this equal mix of dioxazine purple and ultramarine blue. Okay, I'm mixing an equal mix of lavender and lilac to get our first highlight on here. It's probably pretty close to the color of wild orchid, maybe. But instead of having to have another color of paint, we might as well just mix ours. And that was just equal amounts. Okay, I'm going to continue to use, I'm using my 12 curved flat. You can use a 10 or a 3/8 inch angle. whatever you feel comfortable using. I probably will go down to a 10 curved flat here in a minute. So we just want to put this color on the light side of the grapes. Try to keep our shapes nice. So I'm going to have to go to a smaller brush here. This one's a little bit too big. I'm going to go down to a 10. And I know that looks very bright right there, but not to worry, because we've still got a few steps to do on these grapes yet. We are just going to... So this grape right here, the whole grape, I am going to make pretty light because it is on top, and probably should do one side and then come back and do the other side, because I'm just wiping off what I put on there, so I might as well just wait to do that. Just do one side and then the other. This will go on all of our highlight sides. Keep your shape. This is going to fade back down in there a little bit. Pick up water and paint as you need it. Don't let your brush get dry. If your brush gets too dry, then you're just gonna work that much harder. And if you've got too much water in your brush, then your paint's just gonna disappear down in to your painting. And you just gotta find that fine little balance of enough water and enough paint. And make sure every time that you are picking up either water or paint that you are blending it on your palette, blending it into your brush. Looking very scrumptious, I must say. Use the water edge of your brush if you need to kind of pull that paint and smooth it out. If your brush feels like it's getting too full of paint, go wash it out and reload it. If you feel like the paint's over too far onto the bristles, okay, these are starting to look Pretty scrumptious, I must say. When you get into some tight places that you're floating, bring your brush, instead of laying it flat, like how I recommend is that you lay it flat when you float and give soft pressure. But when you get in tight places, you've got to bring the brush almost straight up and down and turn the toe to get the toe of the brush in there. This one's going to have some highlighting in the center of it. Oops. A little bit of a hard line there, so I'm just going to take the water edge and soften that back. I'm kind of up on the toe here, almost, you know, instead of laying my brush flat, I've got it turned like this, because this is a pretty tight area here. Now I just lined that with my paint, so I'm going to take the water edge and just pull that paint down into that a little bit. It's still left too hard of a line for me, so I'm going to take the water edge, pick up a little bit more water and clean that off, and I'm going to try that again. I'm going to blend the paint a little bit more on my palette. I want that to be just barely there. I didn't have enough water in my brush when I put that paint on there, so I couldn't move it. After I got it on there, it just dried to that spot because I didn't have any water in my brush to move it out away from that edge. Okay, this one here is going to have a highlight on both ends of it. So I just put a little bit there and pulled it in, just a little bit, and then I'll put some here on this edge. And pull it in just a tad. Probably would recommend that you let that first float dry before you do that, because you'll just be removing your initial float if you don't do that. I'm not sure I'm liking that one being all light on both edges, so I probably remove it on this edge. Paint on my brush. So that's why you should clean your mop brush, because I just left paint on there because my mop brush, I hadn't cleaned it for a few strokes. So to clean your mop brush, you go to a clean, damp place on your paper towel, then you go to a dry place and you dry it out. Use them dry, very easy to clean. I'm getting paint too far over on my brush. I'm going to have to clean it and reload it here. Much, much better. Just a little bit there. Some of these more narrow floats, if you are using an angle brush, you can go to a 1/4 inch angle brush. If you're using a curved flat like me, and you feel like the 10 is too big now, then go to a 6. Okay, so we've got our first highlight on this bunch here in the center. So I'm going to go and do the highlight on these two here, and then we'll come back and go to our next step. Okay, these are looking pretty good here. I want to intensify the highlight on just some of the brightest ones with lilac. And then we'll come back and see if we want to highlight on the others a little bit more. So the ones that are really on top. So I know you're thinking, oh my goodness gracious, these are so bright. But trust me, we're going to do some glazing on here. It is all going to be fabulous. Just going to pick our brightest ones and start their brighter highlights. The most prominent or closest to us. Need more water. I got way outside my shape there. Oh, you're not even on camera. I got way outside of my shape of my grape here. So let me just remove that. I think I took off both highlights. Okay, that's a little better. I think I'll pick a couple more here to brighten up. This one here. Clean my mop brush off so I don't go spreading that paint. I'll do some on this one. Let me get a little bit more water though. Okay, so that one's already faded back down in there, so I'm going to repeat it. Because I think I removed the very first highlight when I did that. Okay, we've got some brighter, more prominent ones catching our eye now, making our eye move a little bit. So let me go over here to these other ones and do that. I'm going to turn it this way so I can get my brush going a little bit more at a rounded angle. This is only the second video I've done with my camera above me, so I would love to hear from any of you, letting me know what you think. I knocked my camera over a couple of times, so mounted it above me so I wouldn't keep bumping into it. Okay, those are looking really, really good. Alright, let's do these over here. Now I'm going to come back and look at this one in the center and see if there's any place else I want to add a little bit more highlight to. Some more water on my palette here. Okay, I think the edge of this one I will do. This one here. Okay, one more on this center one here. I think I want to do this one up here. Maybe a little bit on this one. Just a tad. Okay, those are looking delicious. Okay, now we want to deepen some shading in a few prominent areas, kind of like we did with that highlight there, with our ultramarine blue. So some of these that are really deep back in here. Find your spots where you think they look the darkest, or like they should be the darkest. Okay, let's see where I need to go here. I need to go right here. Okay, that's looking pretty good there. I think right here we need a little bit. I need to reshape that, which I don't think it's going to work with this color. Ultramarine blue is a little bit more on the transparent side. This one that goes underneath the leaf, we definitely want to put some of that there. Where these go under the leaf. those grapes are looking pretty good. Let's see, I think one more place on this one maybe. Up in here it looks like it needs to be a little bit darker. And down in here. Water. Trying to shape that grape back. I feel like I lost a little bit of its roundness there. Okay, these grapes are looking delicious. Oops. Alright, here's where it's going to be a little darker over here on this side. Right next to that leaf. Okay, over here, back underneath this leaf. There's two grapes there, but it's kind of hard to tell the separation there. I might have to change that up a little bit. Okay, this one needs to be a little darker. I almost like glazing with this paint because it's such a sheer color. Looking pretty darn good. Okay, we've got our three little clusters, some good shading, good highlighting. So let's see where we need to go next. Okay, before we add our final highlight on here, we want to take some cranberry wine. And then I think we'll leave the grapes for a little while and come back and finish up. I might want to add a little bit of highlight on them, another little highlight on them before we move on. But I'm just taking my cranberry wine, kind of thinning it down, making it a sheer wash. Touch my brush to my paper towel to get excess water out. And then we're just going to go in here and pick some grapes to put this color on. We can go right over our highlight, not worry about getting it on the background because this color is in our background, so it's not going to hurt anything. Mop that one. here and do some on this bunch of grapes. I want to do the whole grape, not just part of it. And this is where you can be the judge of what grapes get this little bit of glazing on them. This one. Just darken it a little bit. Get my other brush so I can, when I get it on another grape, I can just wash that off. I feel like I need another one over here. I think I'll do this one as well. Do a little bit on one of these under here to kind of separate those two a little bit. Okay, those are looking good. Okay, I feel like we need a few more darker, deeper places on here. And I'm going to use some soft black. Now I'm going to keep this a very sheer color. So it's going to have a lot of water in it. Okay, so it's just like a glaze of color. Some of these that we made a little bit back behind. I feel like some of these grapes still need a little more of a highlight on them as well. So before we go on to the next step of glazing these grapes, going to do a brighter highlight on some of them. I'm still just going with this soft black, just getting some really deep places on here. We need those darker areas. just stand out a little bit more. Some up here. This is all just fine-tuning it. You just want to make them look as real as possible. Oops. Well, I did it again. Can't seem to stay off of that highlight. Okay, I think we'll call this good for this soft black. Okay, before we add a final little highlight on here, I'm going to take some dioxazine purple and create a wash of it. And plenty of water in there. Okay, then I'm going to wipe the excess water off of my brush because I just want to glaze this over all of the grapes. Dioxazine purple. You can also do this with ultramarine blue if you want your grapes to be more towards that blue edge. And we're going to do one last thing to these grapes before we move on to the leaves. And we're going to do it with Snow White. We're going to have a liner brush and a one round or some kind of brush in our hand. Okay? So we're going to take the round brush and we're going to put some water down on the grape. Then we're going to take our liner brush and tap some white into that. And the water will disperse it. I didn't have enough water on there, so I'll try that again. Dampen it. Ooh, that's probably too much water now. Yeah, too much water. Put some white in there. I'm going to help disperse it a little bit. I don't want that highlight to be the water will disperse it if I could get it on there, the right amount of water. Not too much. When you drop your paint in there, that's better. It will just take it out and soften it. So we want to do this to several of the grapes in the high spots. You can really see that drop of water I just put on there. It is a big drop of water, so this might not work with this one. It's probably got too much water. I don't know how well you can see that. You probably can't see it dispersing that. It's like just, the water is taking it and softening it down, and that is a lot of water. That's going to be rolling down that grape. So I'm going to have to take some of that water off of there. Okay, let's try another one. Not getting the right amount of water on here to get it to disperse right. Too much water. Way too much water there. If it won't disperse on its own, I'm just going to take the water side of the brush and do it myself. You know, just pull it out and let it kind of lighten up there. Let's do one more here. And this one's pretty bright, so we'll put a highlight on it. Okay, so now we can go over to some of these other ones and do the same thing. A couple over here. Oops. Okay, then we can go back and look and see if there's any place that we want to add another highlight. Put a little bit on this one. This one's on top of the... Ooh, baby. That was way, way, way too much paint there. definitely need to separate those grapes there just a little bit more. Okay, just use some soft black. I think down here I need to do the same thing. Okay, I think those grapes are looking pretty good. I think we'll leave them for now. Well, actually, one more thing I want to do before. I put a glaze of the cranberry wine. I think I want to do the same with some ultramarine blue on a few random. See if I'm going to even like that. No, I think I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it like it is. Take that ultramarine blue off. Put my glaze of dioxazine purple back on there. Okay. I think we'll leave the grapes right there for now. And we'll move on to the leaves. Okay, I've come in and drawn some other grapes in here, but I don't know if they're going to stay, so I'm just kind of playing around with it. But right now, I'm taking some dioxazine purple multimedia paint. Okay, this is very, very, very rich pigmented, but it's also very sheer. So I've just watered some down, and all these ones that I have painted with the cranberry wine, I want them to stay that cranberry wine, but this is just going to make them pop ever so slightly back into that purple area where I really want them to stay in that purple area. A little bit too much there. So I just went and washed my brush off, and now I'm just taking the water and kind of blending that around. I love this media paint. It is so much fun to play with. It's such a rich color. This one. Put some on this one. I don't think I put any on this one yet. I'm just taking my mop brush and tapping that down. See, they've retained their pink, that pink tint, but this kind of took them down to a little bit more on the purple side. Come back and redo my highlight on that one and that one, but I really like that. So I'm undecided on this that I've drawn in here, so I'm going to move on to the leaves. Alright, we're ready to move on with this project. As you can see, I went in and added a few more grapes and a few more leaves. I just felt like it was too confined right there in the center, and I wanted it to bust out a little bit. So now we're going to start working on our leaves. So let's zoom in here. And we're going to start with Midnight Green. And I think I'll start out with a 10 curved flat. Now Midnight Green is a dark green, not quite as dark as black green, but pretty close, but it's more transparent, whereas black green is a little more opaque. So I've made a couple of turned places on here. So I'm going to shade underneath those turned edges. And I'm sure my leaves look absolutely nothing like a grape leaf, but that is okay. Alright, I've got another turned one over here. Now I want to start shading down the center veins. So this one comes from behind this bunch of grapes here. So I'm going to shade right beside that line that I put on, all the way down. Okay, I'm going to be hopping around here a little bit because I want to give my floats time to dry. I'm loading more paint and water as I need it. I'll zoom you in just a tad bit more. I didn't finish those grapes that I drew on the top there, because I'm wanting to do something different. Maybe make some out of some Quik wood or some polymer clay. I have not decided yet. I like to lay my brush flat when I can when I'm floating. Soft pressure. Now when you are loading your brush, let me just give you this little tip here. When you're loading your brush, if you've got a nice gradation of color right here, that is exactly how it is going to paint for you, and you won't have any hard lines if you've got a nice blend on your palette there. So it's important to do that step. Alright, so we're going to come beside it. We're going to leave that vein in the center open, and then we'll bring them together at the tip. Erase that graphite line here in a minute, and you'll see a nice opening in the center of that. That's the problem when I zoom in. I tend to get off a camera frame, so I am just going to apologize right now for doing that, because I probably will do it more than one time, I'm sure. Keep your veins proportionate for your leaf. So if you've got a big leaf, you're going to want a little bit fatter vein. If you've got a smaller leaf, you're going to want your vein to be a little bit smaller. Alright, now let's add some of our veins coming off of that. So we'll do the same thing here. Go down each side. Wash my brush out. My paint's getting a little too far over on my bristles, and reload here. Now I did have a vein coming down here, but because I drew it in with my dressmaker's pencil, it erased it when I went over it with the water edge of my brush. Put a little one coming off of here. Now I originally had made this leaf up here to be two separate leaves, but because I added these other smaller leaves, I decided this one could be connected to the bigger leaf there. Okay, so we got one side, so now we want to go and do the opposite sides of all of the veins that we just painted in. Again, leaving a little gap in there. I don't have very much paint at all on my brush. I've got a lot of water, so I can move what little bit of paint that I have just right along. I missed a vein here and one here, so I'll put those in and I'll come back and finish those in a minute. Because we don't have very much paint and we've got quite a bit of water, it will dry very quickly. And I forgot to do one up here. And this one. Need a touch more water. Like I said, these leaves probably don't look anything like real grape leaves, but I have creative license here. I'm really up on the toe of that brush, making sure I don't make a super wide float here. So if you are using an angle brush, you might want to go to a 1/4 inch angle. I think just this one leaf up here at the top. I need to do the veins on it. think we've got everything. My brush is starting to look a little bit ragged there. It probably needs a serious cleaning, I'd say. And this particular leaf down here looks like it might need an additional vein up here. It's a little stark there. As well. Okay, let's go in and erase our graphite lines now and see how this is going to look. Okay, now with the same color we want to shade like here where the grapes lay on top of the leaf here. And this one, this leaf lays on top of this leaf. And under here. I might have to go back and redo those grapes right there to bring them more forward. On top of that leaf there. Okay, we'll go around this one. All the way around this grape. I've gone to my 12 curve flat, but you can stay with a smaller brush. Okay, so even though I've drawn a line there, I'm just going to go right over that line because I'm not really sure what I'm going to be doing there. And even if I come and paint a grape in there, I can go right over what I'm painting now. Grapes here. Try to stay off of your grape. Because these grapes are on top of that leaf. The rest of that leaf is behind the grapes. And again here I'm going to just go right up to that place and not worry about what I painted there. Okay, let's see, did I get all of my areas that are next to something? Oh, up here at the top. And this one. Soft pressure when you're doing floating. And I'm going to go all the way to the end of this one. I'm going to switch back to my 10 curved flat. And the outer edges of the turned places, I need to put a little bit of this darker green. Too much water there. Here you want to have mostly just straight paint. We don't need all that water because we're just making a thin little line on there, basically. And we want it to stay tight, and if we've got a lot of water, the water will make it want to move up onto the turned part more. Okay, we're looking pretty good. Okay, I want to deepen my shading now underneath all of my grapes and stuff. Or around my grapes, I guess I should say, on my leaves. Take my mop brush and just gently mop that. It just kind of nicely softens everything and blends it out. As long as you just gently tap on it. If you tap too hard, you're going to remove your paint. You probably like to be on camera. I know I'd love to have you on camera. Oops, just painted right over that grape. A little bit of mopping there to softly blend that. Mop it. I'm going to put some of this along the back of the leaf there as well. Maybe just a touch here. Could be getting a little shadow off of the grapes there. I think this one here, I'm going to a little bit on there. I'm put a little bit along this edge because it could be getting a little shadow along that grape. I think on this one, I'm going to put a little bit more on this one. Out to the tip there. And around this area here. This area right here needs a lot more paint. So I just kind of tapped some on there. Now I'm softening it. Got a little bit of a hard line there, so I'm going to just dampen that and remove it. Definitely don't want to lose the shapes of our grapes. Turned edges again. Lay the brush flat where you can. darker back here at the base of this leaf. Back here. These turned out places right here could be darker. Definitely could go to a smaller brush down here on these smaller leaves. Okay, let's do a few more turned out areas here. More paint, less water. My paint's starting to dry up here. Should be turned, but got a little bit pointy there, it looks like. Okay, I think I'm going to put a little bit of shading down here on this edge. Still got our highlights to do, so. Wide angle out here so we can look at it a little bit better. Okay, we're going to get ready to do some highlights on our leaves here. Alright, let's start on doing some highlighting on these leaves. We're going to start by doing the center veins, and we're going to use olive green. I have all over my hand. So we're going to take our 10O liner brush, dip it into water, bring it over to our paint, and pull some paint out and thin it down. Dip into your water, bring it over, pull it down, and mix it up. Okay, we want to have nice inky consistency paint. Okay, then I'm going to wash my brush, dry it, especially want to make sure there's no water on the ferrule. Then I'm just going to load my brush up. Plenty of paint in there. Okay, now this will look very bright when we first put it on, but it will fade back down in there. So don't get too scared when you first put it on. So we want to go down the center veins, all of our veins that we created. We want to go down the middles of those. If you've got your paint, nice inky consistency, and you can stay up on the very tip, you will get those thin lines. It takes practice to have good brush control with your liner, but the most important thing is getting that ink the right consistency. And then you don't have to work near as hard. I'm not not doing a very good job of staying in between my shading lines, but that's okay. We're going to come back and reshade some of these. So there's our veining. Now I want to get some more light avocado out because we need to create some stems. And I'm going to get some burnt umber. Shake it up. It's a new bottle here. We haven't used burnt umber in the project yet. So I might want to just go with soft black so we don't have to introduce another color. So I'm going to get some soft black out. I'm going to put a little bit of burnt umber on my palette. I don't know that I'm going to use it, but I'll get soft black out. Stuck it in my green paint. Okay. Where was I? Okay, we're going to make a stem. So I want to make it with the light avocado. So actually I want this stem to come from over here. And this one can come from here. I'm just going to pull it into the leaf there. This one's going to come from here. Okay, this one I want it to come from over here somewhere, and I really should wait until I paint my grape stems there. And then this one, let's see, we might have it come from here. Okay, then we'll repeat that and darken that up. This is going to be a stem for the grapes themselves, so we're going to want to make that cocoa. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit more of that avocado. Now this time I'm going to just dip into avocado and then dip into soft black and pull that in. That gives us like a dirty green color. Okay, that's good. That takes that stem down just a little bit. Alright, let's continue on highlighting on our leaf now. And then we're going to come back. I think before I do that, let's take some midnight green and reshade on each side of our veins here. Oh, I have to wash my brush out. So with our midnight green, where we've already got some color, we're just going to intensify it. You can go between your vein sections. Stay off at the center there. Then we'll come on the other side. We're going to do this to each leaf, so I'm just going to show you this one leaf here, and then I'll go off camera and finish the others. This is just repeating our initial shading. We're just deepening it and giving that vein a little bit more area to set, so it's gives it a little bit more realistic look. We're going to come on each side of this one, on all of these other. It's with our midnight green. Using my mop brush to soften. Water. My paint very draggy right there. Gently mop it. Okay, and then while I'm working on this leaf, I'm going to go ahead and shade underneath this turned area one more time. Okay, so I'm going to do that to all of the other leaves, and then we're going to come back and do the highlighting on them. Alright, let's get some highlighting on these leaves here. So I think I'm going to go with my 10 curved flat. Put some fresh olive green out here. Okay, we want to highlight on our turned edges. Oh, look, my mop brush is very, very dirty. So I'm going to clean it on a damp place on my paper towel and dry it off. There, good to go. Kind of up on the toe in this very, very tight area right here. little turned edges there. Let's highlight on some of these leaf edges here. Soft pressure. I've got plenty of water and paint in my brush. So I'm going to gently mop that to soften it. Still just using olive green. We're going to come back and put some of the grape colors into our leaves in random places here and there in a little bit. I love this olive green on leaves. Down to this edge. Now I've got my 12 curved flat here, but you can go to a 10 or a 3/8 inch angle if that's what you prefer to use. I don't think that I mentioned, but this surface that I'm painting on is a surface from creativeartslifestyle.com. Patricia Rawlinson's website. She has a lot of amazing surfaces to paint on. Always coming up with very, very cool surface ideas. All the outer edges of the leaves will be highlighted with this color. The leaves that are, the edges that are visible, that are not hidden behind a grape. And then I just walk that paint over just a little bit because I've got enough water on my water edge of my brush, and so it leaves a little bit of water when I'm floating, and then when I want to walk over, I can just tap that paint into it, and it leaves a nice, I think I originally intended to shade that, but just highlight it now. Mop, mop, mop. I want to bring some of this color into between the veins. A little bit of a hard edge right here. Take the water edge of my brush, soften that. Alright, I'm going to go to a smaller brush to finish these other ones. They'll be the same. Just do the outer edges and a little bit in between the veins. Okay, before we move to finish the leaves, I want to go and finish the stem up here. So we're going to shade it with black green, soft black. So it's going to have a little place right there on the end of it. So I want to shade underneath that. This is soft black, where every one of these connect. I want to shade on underneath there. This is where you'll need to be up on the tippy toe of your brush, or go to a smaller brush if you feel not quite as comfortable using a larger brush. I have a 10 curved flat here. So wherever one of these connects, we want to shade. Okay, then we're going to shade back here. And we're going to shade down here. This is still just with soft black. Pretty much straight paint. We don't want a whole lot of water on our brush because these are very small, tight areas, so we don't want our paint getting out of control. I'm going to shade a little bit on the back side of this. I've got some eraser stuff there on my shade down here on this edge. Okay, now we need a little bit here where it comes into these grapes. And here, you could probably go to a small round brush to do this here. So we're just putting a little bit right here next to those, where it comes in into the grapes. I'm just going back and quickly repeating this because it needs a second little shading here. Alright, just any little place that you feel needs to be shaded, we want to shade. Okay, now we're going to highlight, and we're going to mix our base color, which is cocoa, and Snow White. And we'll just do equal amounts. Just brush mix them right on your brush. Get a little highlight there. Get a little highlight coming down the stems. Excuse my dog barking. She is barking at my husband outside, mowing. Okay, now I want to repeat that highlight with just white. And your highlights, when you go to a different color, your highlights will get smaller and smaller. I am just streaking this on here. Okay, now I want to put a little bit of green on there. So I'm going to take the the light avocado. And I'm going to mix a little tiny bit of soft black in it. Not very much. I just want to dirty up that green a little bit. So, see, where are you? I just dirtied that green up just a little bit. Just a touch. Oops. And let's put some of this green on the stem. Just in some random places. We don't need a whole lot. I think I'll repeat that because I want it to be a little bit darker than that. I want to see a little bit more of that green. Okay, I think that makes the stem look really nice. Alright, put these colors on your palette. Ultramarine blue, cranberry wine, dioxazine purple. We're going to add some of these colors into our leaves in some random places. So I'm going to start with dioxazine purple. And I'm just getting a sheer little color because I'm not sure, you know, how dark I want this to be. So I'm just going to glaze some of this onto some random areas. I want it to be a little darker than that, so I'll pick up a little bit more paint. So just pick and choose where you would like this color to be on your leaves. It doesn't have to be exactly where I put it. This is just dioxazine purple. I think I'll put a little bit out here on this edge. Let me wide angle out so we can see the whole thing. Okay, now that's not showing up very good. I probably will come back and intensify that. I'm going to go into some cranberry wine. I'm going to do the same thing with the cranberry wine. Just kind of pick a place on a leaf and put some color. Maybe I want some up here next to this, which probably wasn't the best choice because I have purple right there. So how about if I go out here to the outer edge and place some out here. I'll have to repeat this to make it a little bit darker so that we can tell, you know, it's the color of cranberry wine. Okay, so how about a little ultramarine blue? We'll see how that's going to look. Nice on there. I like that ultramarine blue. Now this is a pretty sheer color. I think I'll put some up here on this one. A little bit heavier. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and intensify all these areas that I put color. So first the dioxazine purple. Okay, let's see, where else did we have it? We had it over here. Over here. Okay, so then our next color was the cranberry wine. And we put some of it here. Try to keep it off my center vein there. And out here. Put some up here. Down here. And then our last color, ultramarine blue. Let's see, we have some up here. Oops, weren't even on camera for that one, were you? Right here. Let's see, we had some here. And then we had a little bit right here. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of this blue up here. And that. I need to add a little bit more on these stems, it looks like. So while I have the soft black out, I think I'm just going to streak a little bit of this coming out from underneath. Here. Definitely need some more of this right here. Okay, so right here coming off of that, and we'll just kind of streak it down in there. We need to shade around this one as well. Okay, I'm going to get my six curve flat for that. And right here. Shade to make those stems for the leaves look like they're raised up a little bit. Alright, I think we're going to leave this alone for a little bit. I want to go out and do the lettering and the outer edges and then come back and see if I want to add any more onto these grapes. So we're going to move out to the letters. Alright, before we go out and do the lettering, I want to spread a little green love on my grapes. I'm going to do that with olive green. So I just want to get a little bit of this, a little wash of it on my brush. This might not even show up, we'll see. And I'm just going to pick a couple of random, let me zoom in here, some random grapes. I probably will have to do this twice to get that green to show green, because it will fade down in there. Let's see, where do I want to go with it? Up here. I think I'll go up here on this one. And maybe this one. Too much there. Clean that up. Okay, let me repeat that. So over here. Gently mop. Here. I could very easily go to a smaller brush. I want you to go to a smaller brush if a larger brush is not working out for you. Let me wide angle out. See how that looks. I think that looks pretty good. I'm trying to decide if I want to put any over here or maybe add a second one here. I think I will add a second one over here and then pick one of those two to put one. So I think I'll do this one. Make sure that's dry before I put a second coat on it, and how you tell if it's dry is if it is cool to the touch. It is not dry. Alright, a couple of green grapes poking through there. I think that looks good. Okay, I'm really completely undecided on the color for these letters. So I am going to try lavender, and then I can come back and add some of our other colors onto there to make the colors go more with the grapes. So I am using a 3 round, but you use whatever brush that you like to use for lettering. Now, I like to give tips with lettering because some people find it very difficult to do or challenging to do, and I love doing it. I love doing my own painted lettering. Although stencils are a great way to get your lettering on there. If you've got a stencil that says Chardonnay or any other kind of wine that you like, you can definitely put it along here. But when you do lettering, now I took a calligraphy class many years ago. Many years ago. And in that class, the teacher instructed us to always pull down with our strokes as we did calligraphy. So we had to break up each letter into just lines. Instead of thinking of it as an H, we think of it as particular lines. And you never want to go up or at an angle, because you don't have as much control over your brush once you start going up. So you want to always come down. You always want to come down or towards you. So I'm going to start right here, and where it is a fatter area, I'm going to lay the brush a little bit fatter. Okay, so right here on this H, I kind of traced it weird. I'm going to come down to that. Okay, so that line is done. I don't want to go across, but I do want to come down. So I'm going to come down to my line, and I don't want to take it up. So I'm going to bring this line into that one. The same with this one. I don't want to take it up. I do want to fill it in though, and bring it over to that one. Okay, so just try and break it up into sections. Flatten the brush when you have fatter areas. Come down to your line. Need to fill in right there. I didn't get enough paint on my brush. Your paint, you don't want it to be as thin as inky consistency like we use for the liner brush. Oh, I got way out of line there. But you do want it to be a little thinner. So let me zoom you in just a little bit closer. I'm going to bring this part over to that, so I'm always going in a downward motion. I didn't get that cleaned very good. See if I can straighten that A out there a little bit. Okay, so we're just, I guess I need to go back and do the C here. The C is kind of in the cracks there. So I'm just going to fill in that part right there, and then just start it right here. Flattening my brush because that's a fatter part. Okay, so I went down to my line and stopped. So now I'm going to bring this part to that. Okay, and that's how you can get your letters to look nice and connected. Flattening my brush, going to the line. I'm going to fill in the very tip there because it's a weird shape, and then pull down. Okay, so I'm going to get all my letters base coated in with my lavender, and I'm going to erase my graphite lines, and then I probably won't put a second coat on there unless I feel like I got it too thin in places, and then I might repeat it. Okay, I've got these leaves over here done how I want them to look. And I went back with the lettering. I did not like the way the lettering turned out. It just faded into the background. So I repainted them with lavender, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet. So I am going to, while I think about that, show you how I painted the leaves on and everything on this side. So let's zoom in here a little bit. I'll turn it up like this. Okay, the viney part over here, like all this like scroll viney part, I just painted in with soft black. So you can use whatever brush is convenient or easy for you to use, a small round, filbert, flat, whatever you would like to use. But we're going to paint all of this scroll work, and I went in and I marked where my leaves would probably end, so I won't be painting that part. So, except for this one I didn't do, so I'll just create that little place right there, and we're just going to put, we just need one coat of soft black on here. If you feel like it's, there might be a few places you'll have to go back and apply a second coat. I think I did on the other side apply a second coat in a couple places where I didn't quite get the cranberry wine out here completely covered up, because it does kind of fade back down in there. So we just want to get all of the scroll work painted. Up to our leaves. And then our leaves, we're going to paint them in with light avocado. Scroll work over here. So see, I will have to come back and put a second coat on there. So I'm just going to get a quick first coat on here to show you. And I'll paint in one of the leaves so you can see. Very easy, quick thing to do. Brush. Paint's not wanting to move. That looks like it needs to go up like that. Okay, so just a quick coat of soft black, and then go back and apply a second base coat. And then we'll put 2 base coats of, I think I put 2 on the other, I can't remember. 2 base coats of the light avocado on our leaves. We don't want to get any on the edges, so just 2 base coats. 2 base coats of each on the leaves and the trim, and then I'll come back and show you how I got that gold on the trim. Alright, got my 2 coats on. Now we're going to paint this in this same gold that we did here. Now, when I did the background, I did the gold that I mixed with my varnish and spattered it on. If you have that gold, then you can use that out here and you can use it for the line. But if you have this is already mixed, this media interference. It comes in gold and silver and I think a couple of it, maybe 1 or 2 other colors. I'm not sure. This is the only color that I have, so I know it comes in gold and silver, but I'm not really sure about how many other colors it might come in. So we just want to brush it on, just like we did here. I'm just going to use a flat brush. And we'll only need 1 coat of this. So we just want to brush it on all of our scroll area. Don't have so much on your brush that it goes over the edges. keep it very nice looking here. Now out here, we want to make sure we shape that scroll. So we'll just apply this on all of our scroll work. And then we're going to come back and finish up these leaves here. They're basically going to be done the same as we did these leaves here. So let me get this gold on, then we'll come back and work on a couple of those. Okay, I'm going to show you how to finish up one of these leaves because they are done exactly like we did the big leaves. Except I'm going to show you a little bit easier way to float around our vein lines. So it might make it a little bit easier when you're doing your bigger ones if you haven't already done them. So I'm going to go beside this one, and I'm going to go right up to this one and come off of it. I'm going to come back and create the vein opening there and go up to the center vein, come to this one, and go ahead and create a line on that side. Okay, so this is a much quicker way to get those vein openings on there. Down on this one. A bit more paint. When we come to the V right there, we want to go up into the corner and then kind of round it a little bit and then bring the paint back out. So let me go over here and do this other big one and show you again. We're going to go right here. Go on the side of this line. Up to that line, kind of round it off right there in the corner and bring it beside it. I'm going to keep these kind of tight and small here. We don't need big fat vein lines here. I'll go up here, up to that corner. I'm going to kind of round it off. And then I'm kind of up on the very chisel edge here, pulling that out. It's a little bit of a thick line, too fat of a vein line. So let me make it a little bit smaller. It's a little bit sloppy on that one, but okay. So here we'll go up and around it and come down. Lay your brush flat in these big open areas. Okay, then we're going to kind of round it there. Bring it down beside the center vein, down to the lower one, and then bring it down. Much, much faster. Okay, so we've created our veins in there. So I'm going to go finish these other two, then I'm going to erase my graphite lines, and then we're going to come back and finish them. Okay, I've got all my veining done on these. Now on the outside edges, all I did was, I've got just a little bit of olive green on my brush, and I just kind of wiggled some of this onto the edges of the leaf, and it's going to fade down in there. We don't want it to be bright and screaming at us because we don't want it to distract from our main leaves. So we're just going to do that to all the edges of these leaves. Just wiggle on some of that olive green. There's not very much paint on my brush, and it's watered down. It's pretty sheer. So it will give a little bit of a highlight on these, but it will fade down in there. You know, and you can just kind of do a hit and miss thing. You don't have to whoop, do like I do and throw your paintbrush everywhere. And of course I forgot to put my painting apron on. I think 90% of my clothes are covered with paint because I keep forgetting to put my paint apron on. So I'm going to have to stop here in a minute and do that. Alright, just a little wiggling. This one might need a little bit more on it. Just out on those outer edges. This one needs just a tad more. Okay, now we want to put our vein down the center with our olive green. Put in all of our veins. Inky consistency, stay up on the tip of your paint. A little more on the sheer side, not straight paint, so it will kind of fade back down in there. Turn it this way. It's much easier if I can pull towards me. I have a little bit more control of my brush that way. We don't have to get tons of detail on these because these leaves are just accent. They are not our focal point, so we don't want our eye to wander out to the edges. We just want it to give that little bit of extra accent. A little bit more water in my brush. Okay, and then the last thing I want to do, well, not the last thing, but the next thing I want to do on these leaves is to dry brush a little bit of olive green, and I'm just going to use a flat dry brush. It's not wet at all. I'm going to put some paint in my brush and then wipe most of it off on my paper towel, on a dry place on my paper towel, and then I'm just going to let this kind of skim over the leaf and just leave a little bit of paint in between these sections. This one won't need a whole lot. I'll come back to it when I've got a little bit more of the paint off of my brush. Okay, so we just left a little highlight of this color on there. Okay, I'll come back over here on the side and add just a touch what's left of my brush. Okay, and then our final thing on these leaves that we want to do is add a little bit of cranberry wine on them. So you can just pick some places on the leaves. We'll probably have to do it a couple of times to get it. We don't want it to, we want it to fade in there, but we don't want it to fade completely away. And you can do a couple of edges if you like. You can do down the vein here. Just kind of spread it around a little bit. I'll stay off of our center vein there. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit more over here on this one, I think. Okay, then I want to go back if I don't feel like it is quite dark enough. But you don't have to go back a second time if you feel like you got yours good the first time. And up in here. Okay, let me wide angle out here. Take a good look at it. Whoa, that was really wide. Those leaves look really, really nice. I think these over here might need a touch more cranberry wine to get them a little bit closer to those over there on the other end. So I'll just go back and just add a quick little glazing. Okay, now they look good. That looks really good. Okay, I finished these letters over here and finally got them where I like how they look. We can see the letters clearly, but they're not distracting from our grapes. So I'm going to show you how I did it on this side. I'm going to take my large curved flat, which I have number 12. If you're using an angle brush, you can go to a 1/2 inch size, or if you're using a flat brush, go to like a 10 or a 12. And I've got plenty of water and paint in my brush. It's all very wet. And the reason I've got so much of both in my brush, and I will go back and pick up where I created my paint on my palette, is because I have such a long ways to go, and I want to make sure that I can leave plenty of color. Now you could pre-dampen this with just water first, you know, if you prefer to do it that way. So we just want that to go all the way across on the bottom of those letters. Make sure we've got a nice shading on those colors. Now this Y that comes down here, too much on that C. Let me mop that. We're just going to take the brush, a little bit more water in my brush, and we're just going to shade that entire letter right there. A little bit more. And I'm going to mop it, soften that, so we don't look like we have quite a hard line going across there. Okay. On the underside of it, now on this side I shaded with the soft black, but it wasn't quite dark enough, but I want my sides to match, so I'm going to go ahead and shade underneath this line with soft black. All the way across, laying my brush flat, giving soft pressure. Again, you can pre-wet this. I'm picking up paint quite frequently so that I don't run out. Okay, I can take my mop brush and gently mop that just to give it a softness. Okay, we're going to come back with lamp black here in a minute and shade underneath that. Okay, now for the top of the letters, I took lilac on my brush, and we're just going to drag this color onto the letters. It is a very, turn a little closer here so you can see, it's a very just draggy little highlight on here. So I'm just touching the brush down barely and just letting it skim across that letter, because I don't want it to cover the letter. I just want it to create a little bit of a highlight. So I'm kind of staying up on the tip of the brush to let it just drag on there. Okay. And then our last thing on the lettering itself is to outline it with black, lamp black. So I'm going to use my one round brush. Okay, and we're going to do it on the left side of all these letters. So we'll start this one up here, and as my letter gets fat, I will give more pressure to my brush, go to the bottom and let up, and then we've got this side here, that's the left, and this side here, or that part right there. Okay, now we'll go up here to the H, continuing to pull down. Just going to outline the H. I have a little bit right there. Okay, so we're basically just outlining the left sides of all of these letters. Go under this R a little bit. More paint there. Right there. We don't want our outlining to be super duper fat. So we want to try and keep it very controlled. We don't want to make our letters bigger. I've got my paint thinned down a little bit with some water so it will flow off of my brush. Need a little bit more water. You still do the lettering the same way. You pull towards you. Just gives you more brush control. And then the white will go all the way down. Okay, so that's how we outline or do a drop shadow on our letters. And you can do it on either side. You can do it left or right, whichever is easiest for you. It really doesn't matter which side we do it on. Okay, now we're going to shade underneath this line where we just put that soft black. And we're doing it with lamp black this time. Wide angle out so you can see the whole thing there. I'm going to mop that, soften it, don't want any hard lines. It's a little bit darker on that side than it is on this side. So I might darken this side up just a touch. Oops. Don't want it on my gold, so I'll try to control that float. We could go around that Y. It won't hurt anything to go around that Y. Okay, let me mop that very gently. Okay, now I want to take the lamp black, and I'm going to use my bigger brush. You can use a filbert brush or a flat brush, whichever you prefer. And I'm going to side load some. I've got lots of water in my brush, and I'm using a large 1-inch brush and lamp black, and I want to shade all of my edges here with lamp black. Got plenty of water in my brush. It will help me move that paint. You can pre-dampen it if you prefer to do it that way. Okay, and I want to go around this edge here. Put a little bit of this black up in here. Need more water. Go around my scroll. Around my leaf. I don't want to get it on my letter, so I'm going to avoid my letter. Okay, come and do this side. I'm kind of staying up on the toe of the brush here to get that black paint where I need it. Around the scroll work and around your leaves. Try to stay off of your letters. Clean it off if you get it on there. Trying around these corners just a little bit. Looks really, really nice there. Okay, so here it is. It can be completely finished at this point. Just varnish it with a couple of coats of matte or satin varnish. Find an easel that you like. I have some wooden easels that I bought at Walmart that I was going to paint a soft black and put it on that, but I can't find it. So I've got this black one, and you can just, set it anywhere in your home. Plus, you can paint something else on the other side so you could have a double-sided surface. So, the next steps that I'm going to be doing to this are completely optional, but I wanted to put them on the video so you would know how to use it. We're going to be using 2 products. I'm going to show you 2 products to use that we can add dimension onto this. And one is going to be this JB Quik wood. which I buy it at Home Depot in my town, so I'm not sure any kind of hardware store would have it. But our Lowe's does not carry the Quik wood. So we're going to be doing some dimensional stuff with that. And I'm going to be showing you how to make some dimensional stuff with polymer clay. I love using polymer clay. It is so easy and so much fun. I just love it. I just love playing in the clay. So the first thing that I'm going to show you how to use is the Quik wood. So we're going to take some out of here. This is a couple of different epoxies, and it hardens like wood, and it's paintable. I think it's even stainable. So, you know, if you've got things in your home that need repaired and you need something to repair it with, Quik wood is a good option. So I'm going to cut off a nice little chunk of this. Okay, I'm going to put this end thing back on it. Stick it back down in the tube and put the lid on it to keep it nice and soft so it doesn't dry out. Okay, then we take this plastic cover off of it, and I am going to get some extender. Now, I've used baby oil in the past. You can use extender. I really like using the baby oil, but I don't want to get it on my surface. So I just rubbed extender on my hands to keep it from sticking to my hands. So now I'm just going to work it. We need to mix those two epoxies together, and it will start getting warm. So that means the epoxies are doing their happy stuff and going together nicely, and you just want to keep mixing it as long as it's warm until it gets to a nice blended color, to where it's all like one color. You don't see those two colors, those two separate colors. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. Okay, so now we've got a nice blended piece of Quik wood here. Okay, I'm going to put some more extender on my hands. I'm going to move this disc out of the way because I don't want to get extender on it, because I'm going to need it for my polymer clay, and I don't want to get anything on it. So I'm going to pinch off some of this. Okay, and I am going to form a ball that would resemble a grape, I guess. I want it to be a nice shape. Okay, then I'm going to take this one might be too big. I'm going to take my thing and cut it in half. I want to keep that round shape. I need it flat on one side and round on the other. So I'm just putting it in my hand and kind of rolling it around. I've got something in it, some fuzz or something. I need to get that out. There was probably some paint on my board here. Okay, we want a nice round little grape here. Okay, so then you take it to your surface. Pull this over here. I'm going to wipe this off because I don't want any of that Quik wood to get on the back of my piece. I want to make sure that it stays grape shaped looking. Okay, then you find a place, well, that's way too big. I'm going to take about a third of that away. I do not need this to be very big. We want a smooth grape though. So again, I'm going to roll it in the palm of my hand. I have the flat side up. You've got plenty of time to work with Quik wood. Okay, then I'm going to find where I want a dimensional grape on here. the important thing is keeping that grape round. Okay, so I've just stuck it right there on the top. It still could be a little bit smaller, I think. Yes, I think I will take that off and make it just a tad bit smaller. So I'm going to roll a ball. So you see I don't have very much of that. Okay, so I'm just shaping it. I want a nice round shape here. I'm going to stick it on my piece where I want a grape to be. I've got this little tool here that I use with my polymer clay, and I like to take it and smooth. Oh, I didn't do a very good job on that one. I want my Quik wood to be smooth. I don't want it to have any flat places or any weird places. Okay, so there's one grape. So, and this Quik wood will it will adhere right to your surface. Okay, here's a smaller one. A smaller grape, so I might want to put it maybe a little bit bigger. Flatten it out and then shape it. Maybe over here. Then when this dries, we'll come back and paint it, just like we painted all the other grapes. And they don't have to stick up this high if you don't want them. So I'll get that over there so you can see it. They don't have to stick up this high. If you don't want them to stick up this high, then you can make your grapes a little bit more flat. Okay, I've already drawn some lines on here where I want to place some grapes. And if it gets feeling a little sticky, then just put some more extender on your hands. Okay, I'll take a little bit more. Maybe just a touch too much. You need that flat side so it will stick. Keep shaping it till it's a nice grape, and just stick it on where you'd like to have it. I think I'm going to put another one beside that one, a little bit smaller, and I'm going to give it a flat edge so that it will look like it's beside it. You know, right up against it. So I want one edge to be rounded and one edge to be more flat. And I'm going to stick it right here next to that one. I'm getting a little sticky, so I'm going to get some extender on my hands. Extender will help me smooth it out. Okay, I've got a couple of grapes there. A couple more on this center part. Okay, I need to flatten it and round it and shape it. I'm going to put one here. That one's really thick, so let me take some off of that. I didn't want it to stick up quite that high off of the surface there. Now after you after these are all dry, for some reason they ever come off, or you know, you knock one off, which they shouldn't. They should adhere right to it and not ever give you any problem. Just use some E6000 or some super glue and stick them on there. This one needs to be a tad bit bigger, so I'm going to add a little bit more to it. Get your nice grape shape there. Smooth it out. If you're getting sticky, then get your extender on your hands. I want to reshape this one because the extender will dry. Oh, got something on that one. Well, that's because I have paint on my fingers, so I'll just have to paint over that. I really don't want that one to be flat-sided. I only want that one to be. Just smoothing it with my finger with the polymer clay. I mean with the extender on my hands. Okay, well, let's put a couple more on here. One over here on this bunch on the left here. Okay, so I'll put it up here. Want it up there, or do I want it down here? I think down here looks better. Okay, nicely shape it. Take a damp brush and clean that off of there in case it had any of the Quik wood there. I don't want to keep any of my... Okay. This one might be too big for where I want to put it, so let me take some of that off. Need a touch of extender. Extender will help you be able to smooth it out more, give you a little bit of working time with it, and it also keeps it from sticking to your fingers. Okay, I kind of like to have one here or here. Yeah, we'll keep it up there. I think that'll be nice. Okay, I'm going to go wash my hands, and I'm going to come back and show you how to use the polymer clay. Okay, I'm going to show you how to use polymer clay now to get some dimensional effects on this. Here's two brands that I use. It comes in a variety of colors. You can get any color that you like in polymer clay, but this is my favorite one to use. It is transparent, so I can put whatever color I want on it, and it won't change the color that I paint it. So I think I've got a little package open here. Oh, wait, it's a different brand, so I won't use it. Alright, so I'm going to open this package. Okay, the first thing that I want to do is put some cornstarch down on my surface that I'm going to. This is like making pie dough. That's what it reminds me of. So I'm going to cut a nice section of this off. Okay. Now I'm going to wrap this back up best I can. You don't want air getting to it because this can either air dry or oven bake. So put this in a bag. Keep it from drying out. If I need more, I can always pull it out and get more. I get all of the air out of the bag. Don't want any air in there, drying that out. Okay, so then we're going to take our clay, and now we need to like warm it up. Get it where it's a happy clay. So this is where we have to knead it and get it soft. This clay feels a little on the dry side. I might have to get my other. I have two brands that I use, and the Primo is the brand that I have the most of. This one, oh yeah, this one's much softer. This one is Sculpey, but it is transparent as well. Much softer clay. So I would recommend going with the Sculpey brand. I have quite a bit of the Primo. So, alright, we just want to get it nice and soft. Okay? Where we can work with it easily. Okay, I want to make sure there's enough of that on there. I'm going to put it on here like pie dough. I'm going to take my rolling pin, which is just a dowel rod, and I'm going to put some cornstarch on it. And then I'm just going to start rolling this out. And I want it to be fairly thin. Any thick edges on it. So we're going to try and use as much of this clay as possible. Okay, now I've got a paintbrush here, and I'm just going to brush off the cornstarch. I need to get a bigger brush. This one's not quite big enough to get the job done. We just want to get all the cornstarch off of it. Let me get a bigger brush. I'm just using an old dry brush. It's just cornstarch. It's not going to hurt it. Get it off of both sides. This will make a mess all over your painting area, so you want to make sure you've got your paint stuff cleaned up. Okay, now the fun begins. The fun stuff really begins. So I've got a punch, just a scrapbooking punch for paper. So I want to pick this up. I want to slide it down in there to just where it fills that leaf. I feel like my clay is still a little bit thick, so I'm going to have to roll it out a little bit more. So here's a thinner edge. So it should slide down in there nicely. I'm going to punch it. And if I can't get that to fall out, I'm going to use a little tool of some kind and get it to drop out of there. Let me roll this out a little bit more. It's a little thick over here on the side. Want it where it goes into the punch very, very easily. Okay, let's do that again. If it won't drop out, use a little tool to just help it. And slide your The cornstarch on here, if you don't wipe it all off, will also help the punch from keep it from sticking to the punch. So we just want to do a bunch of leaves. I don't have a bigger leaf punch. I wish I did, because I would like to make some bigger leaves, but these will be fun accent leaves, I think. Let's see how many I've got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do a couple more. Now I'm going to do a couple of butterflies. Okay, I want to take the edge of the clay away where I've punched already, so it doesn't get caught up in my next punch. So what you can do is just cut that away, get some nice crisp edges. Just cut it with some scissors. Okay, now my next punch that I want to do is this butterfly one. And I'm taking these off because this is just a little tray thing that will catch them when you punch them, but I don't want it to catch them because I need to be able to move them out. So you always turn the punch upside down so you can see the clay in there. And this clay feels a little thick. Okay, you just want to get it where it's down in there. Punch it, hold the punch in so you can get the butterfly out. Okay, these are little butterflies. I've got a punch that will do a bigger one. Do one more little one. Okay, and then I've got this punch. I think these are all Martha Stewart punches. There is a big variety of punches out there, so slide this one in here and get a bigger punch. Oops, or a bigger butterfly, I guess I should say. See if I can get another one. If your clay gets stuck in there, then you can just use if you've got a pick tool of some kind, you can just use that tool and get it out of there. Alright, so I've got all of these. Let me get my scrap pieces off of here. I've got all of these punched out now. Alright, so let's say we want our butterflies to look like they're flying. Well, here are some butterflies I've already done. So, like this one is bent up, looks like it's flying. So you can have them like that. You can have them flat. You can have them where they're just barely bent up. I don't know if I have any more like that one. Like these little ones here are just kind of barely bent up. So how we do that is I've got a tray, just a foil tray here. Got all my unnecessary parts out of it. Okay, and so I've got this parchment paper that I have folded up, accordion pleated. So I want to take my butterfly, and this is where I think I need to really zoom in so you can see this. I'm going to take my butterfly and I'm going to fold it up to the body on both wings. So right there where the body is where I want to have a fold. So the body will stay down and the wings will fold up. And then I want to place it in that fold right there. And when it bakes, it will be folded. So right up to the body on each wing. place it. I need to get the antenna separated here. They're all stuck together. And then place it in the fold. Fix that antenna. Okay, and the little ones, you can do the same thing. Fold them up to the wings, and then place them in the crease here on the parchment paper. Oops. Okay, any part of it that is curled up, when you bake it, that's how it's going to be. So you want to try and keep your parts flat. You know, your wings flat against the parchment edge. And just folded there in the center. Okay, so I've got them, oops, get you on camera. I've got them all lined up there in the parchment crease. Okay, now for the leaves. I've got another piece of parchment that I can pleat or that I can lay flat. So I'm going to lay it flat, sort of flat in here. So our leaves, we want some of them to be flat like this, and then some of them we want the edges to be curled up. I'll give it a little, you know, more character and dimension. I'm just going to lay it in the bottom of the pan. I don't want that parchment to cause it to fold in weird ways. You can also go ahead and put some detail lines on your leaves, like this. Some vein marks. Okay, you can fold the edge up, like that. Let me go back to this one and put some vein marks on it. So even if these don't show up too well after you bake them, you've got an idea of some veins. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more curled up. And these don't take very long to bake. So maybe the back of this one will be curled. Okay. And so we'll just continue on with all of our leaves. A lot of times when I'm doing polymer clay, I will just get a bunch of my punches out and just make an assortment of things with polymer clay so that I can you know, have stuff ready when I need it. And because it's translucent, I can just you know, paint it the color that I want to go with whatever it is that I'm painting. Okay, I'm going to do this last one. Oh, I didn't put any lines in those. So let me put the vein lines in those other ones. But I'm going to get this last one curled. Okay. Let me do my veins here. It's much easier to do if I hold it, because then I can hold the stem. And so you will want your oven preheated. let's see. Make sure I give you the right temperature. It says right on the clay how to cook it. 275, 30 minutes for every 1/4 inch thickness. Well, these are not very thick, so I would say about 20 minutes would probably bake these off fine, but if you're not sure about the thickness, just go ahead and bake them the 30 minutes. Because we had to roll it out pretty thin to get it to go through our punch. So now we've got some nice delicate pieces, and then when these come out of the oven and they're dry and cooled, I'll show you how I paint them. Now you can also paint these before you put them in the oven. I have done that, but I've mostly only used the Glamour Dust to paint them before I bake them. I'm sure you could use the glass paint or the multi-surface paint. I think both of those are paintable. So I've got them all in my tray. There's my leaves. There's my butterflies. So I'm going to go get my oven preheated, bake these for about 20 minutes, and then let them cool, and we'll come back and paint them up. Quik wood. I think it takes a couple of hours for it to cure and get hard. Let me find my Quik wood. I know on one of my other projects, my Trick or Treat Frankie, I read the instructions on this. Let's see. Hardening begins at 15 to 25 minutes, and functional cure occurs in 60 minutes, so an hour. In an hour, the Quik wood should be pretty dry and adhered. I will let it probably go a couple of hours, just to make sure it's good and dry and stuck to the surface, and then I'll come back and paint it. So we'll do all that on camera, but that's just the general information for you. Alright, my grapes are dry on here, and I have painted them. I'll probably come back and do a little bit of tweaking on them, but for now they are good. So I've got all my butterflies and my leaves here. Well, that butterfly kind of didn't get folded right. Okay, so now I want to paint these. So I've got on my palette Glamour Dust. I've got 4 colors of Glamour Dust. I've got Emerald, Limelight, Magenta. This is Magenta. I don't know if I'm going to use it because I don't think the glitter mixes into that one well. And Lavender. And then I've also got a gloss enamel here to see if I might like it, but I think I kind of want to stay with the glitter paint. So I'm going to take the glitter paint. I think I might mix a little bit of that enamel in there. I want it a little bit different color of green. And I'm just going to paint each one of these leaves. I don't think that light green will see too much. And we'll want to paint both sides and the stems. Okay? I really would like a little more yellow. I don't have a yellow, but I have a gold. I don't think that gold's going to do me. like to mix this. Something a little bit darker. I think these leaves might be just a little bit too light. So I'll at least get this color on them and then see what other color I can come up with. Now I don't know, let me zoom in here. You can see my veins that I created in there a little bit. The ones that I got deep enough. Okay, I'll come back and do the stems in a little bit. Now our butterflies, I can use some of the butterflies I've already got made. I want to make some purple butterflies. Oops. So I'm going to start by just putting purple all over the whole butterfly, and then I will probably come back and add some other color on there. And like I said, I'm on camera, before you even bake these, you can paint them. So let's get some darker greens. See if we can make a more variegated leaf. I think these greens are almost too much on the blue side, so I'm going to see what I got that I can mix in. I think I might just use the media purple paint on the butterfly. So let me do a little butterfly. Might be too dark. A little water in there. Try and thin that down just a touch. This is probably the most tedious thing about these, is painting them. But like I said, you can paint them before, just while your clay is flat. You can just put some, go ahead and paint them before you cut them out. That's the one that's folded a little bit funny. So you just want to get both sides painted. As many coats as you want to put on them, and then let them dry, and then we will stick them to the piece. Okay, I'm not liking those bright greens, so I'm just going to take my light avocado and base my leaves with this color. And then I'll come back and add a little bit of my other greens on here. But I want my leaves to match the rest of my painting. So now the butterflies aren't as big of an issue because we still want them to match, but we can do our butterflies in just about any color that we want, as long as it goes nicely with the... So all these ones that I've already painted this other green, I'm going to try and paint over that color and get it to this light avocado color, which is our main leaf color. just won't worry about the sparkle in it. We can put the sparkle on our butterflies, but you know, we can do that with the glamour dust, the clear glamour dust. So I'll come back and do the stems here in a minute. I just want to get the front and back done, and we'll add a little bit of midnight green here and there and a little bit of olive green. You know, we don't have to get huge detail on these because they're so small. So I'm just painting right over that other paint. Okay, now, and like I said, this is an optional thing to do on your piece. You do not have to do the Quik wood or the polymer clay. You could even do polymer clay grapes if you'd like. You don't have to do that on your piece, so I just wanted to show you how to do it if it was something different that you wanted to try and play around with. So, and then I can take some of the butterflies that I've already made. Most of them I painted with the glamour dust, but I can paint right over them and come back with any color that I want on these butterflies. So let's say I like this blue in here, but it's not quite, you know, the color. Ultramarine blue is more the blue in the piece, so I can just wash over that with some ultramarine blue, or you know, any of my colors in my palette. So just get them all painted up, a little bit of midnight green and olive green on your leaves. If you're going to do this step, make sure you do paint the back as well and the stem. Okay, I've got all my leaves and butterflies done. So now I want to put some E6000 on my palette, and this is a Quik hold E6000. So hopefully I won't have to hold things very long. So I'm just going to use a toothpick, apply some of this on the back. You could also use super glue. Place it where I want it. Once it's on there, it's on there. You do not have a whole lot of time to move it around, so just make sure you've got it where you want it once you place it. That's why I pre-place these, to see exactly where I would want them to go. And this stuff does set up very quickly, so you have to move very fast. But you can use the regular E6000 that you don't have to be quite so quick with. I have to squirt some more out because this is already setting up. And this stuff has quite an odor, so you're going to want to make sure that your area is well ventilated. I had trouble picking some up here with this one. Now when you go to varnish this piece, you will want to use a spray varnish if you're going to do all this dimensional stuff on here. you'll want to do a spray varnish instead of your brush on varnish. Okay, I'll put a little bit more out here. I want to do my butterflies. I like the Quik Set E6000 because it stays more pliable out of the tube longer. Oops, I didn't want that to flatten out and I just broke it, so let's see if I can glue it back together. I won't mess that one up. So I will let this set overnight, get completely dry. If any of my butterflies or leaves do not stay stuck on with this E6000, then I'm going to put them on with super glue. That butterfly I'm a little concerned about because my glue was starting to set up a little bit. So there we go. Now our project is complete. I love all the dimension on it, but like I said, if that's not something that appeals to you, then you can leave all of the dimension off and just paint it according to the instructions. Okay, that's our Chardonnay grapes. Thanks for painting with me.